So my name is Kimberly, and today we are at Sundara Sanctuary, and I am a 200-hour registered yoga teacher, and I'm going to be showing you guys a quick routine to get your hips open and to loosen them up a little bit. So we're going to be doing a couple of poses today, and as always I'm going to start with a sun salutation, and you guys can add as many as you'd like, as many as you're used to in your practice, but for the sake of this video I'm just going to be showing just a couple. So we will start at the top of our mats here in mountain pose or Tadasana. And you want to bring your toes and heels together. Make sure that the edges of your feet are parallel with your mat. Bring your shoulders up and back. Palms facing out with the pinky slightly turned out, and your fingertips are nice and spread here. Once you get to your strong mountain pose, just slightly tuck your pelvis under a little bit here and feel yourself strong in your mountain. So starting with sun salutation A, inhale the arms all the way up. As you exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, maybe bend your knees here. Inhale to rise to half lift, lengthen through the spine, shoot your energy through the crown of your head. Exhale, fold forward, plant the hands into the mat, step the right foot back, and then the left. On your next exhale, shift into your high plank and lower your chest all the way towards your mat, keeping the elbows squeezed into the side body. Inhale to rise to upward facing dog. As you exhale, send the hips all the way up, meeting me back in downward facing dog. So we're gonna open the hips a little bit here by going into a three-legged downward facing dog. So just lift the right toes off of the mat, keeping the hips straight and keeping your right foot flexed. Take a couple breaths here, and when you're ready, bend at the knee and open up that hip. Feeling that nice stretch. And then straighten the right leg and send the right toes down. Same thing on the other side. Lift the left toes high, keeping the left foot flexed. Take a breath here. And when you're ready, open up the hip by bending the knee. Press your chest closer to your thigh and really press through your fingertips here. And when you're ready, lift the right foot a little bit here, deepen your stretch, and set the left toes back down towards the mat. Coming back to downward facing dog and moving right along, lift the gaze towards the fingertips. In Yogi's Choice, hop or step your feet to meet at the top of your mat. Inhale to rise to half lift, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, fold forward. And inhale with the arms coming all the way up. Lift your gaze towards your fingertips. Bring your palms together. And exhale your hands into your heart center. Slowly lowering your gaze. So we're going to move on to some balancing poses here, and we'll start with a modified eagle pose, and I'm going to be showing a variation with a block. So this block allows you to deepen your stretch a little bit, sit further down into your sits bones, feel your glute stretch, and then allow those hips to just open up a little bit more. So we'll start on our mats here, again toes and heels together, and you really want to root through your feet. Lift the toes and spread them as much as you can so that you feel all four corners of your feet. So we'll start on our right side. And so for this variation, you can place your block on the lowest level on the outside of your left foot. So standing nice and tall here, inhale the arms all the way up. As you exhale, right crosses underneath the left, and your palms can come together, or you can hug opposite shoulders if that's not available to you. So once you get there, begin to sink into your sits bones, sink into your chair as if you were going into chair pose. Take a peek down at your feet and put all of your weight into your left foot. When you feel comfortable, lift the right toes off the mat and cross them over the left knee. And for this variation, you can bring the top of your foot to your block here. And once you find your edge, you can send your sits bones lower and always lift through the chest and lift your elbows up. Take one inhale through the nose, and as you exhale, big eagle release. Moving right along to the other side. Using the block in this variation, just place it on the outside of your right foot. Again, toes and heels together, really ground yourself in your feet. And inhale the arms all the way up. As you exhale, left crosses underneath the right, or again, you can grab opposite shoulders. Once you feel stable, begin to sink into your seat here. Take a peek down at your feet and place all of your weight into your right foot. When you feel stable, lift the left toes off the mat and cross them over the right knee. And for the variation, place the top of your foot on the block. Send your sits bones a little bit lower and lift through the chest, lift through the elbows. Take one deep inhale through the nose. And as you exhale, big eagle release. Okay, so moving on to balancing half moon, and we're also going to use a block for this variation. If you need both, that's okay, but generally we use one block in this. I'll place this to the side just in case I might want to use it. So just start in the middle of your mat here, place your hands on your hips, and same thing, toes and heels come together. Really root yourself through your feet, through all four corners, and spread your toes. When you feel grounded, take one step with your left foot to the center of your block and just begin to place all of your weight onto the ball of your right foot and then transfer it into your left foot. When you feel stable, begin to hinge at the hips here. And when you get low enough, you can place your left hand on the block. So you notice that you might have to make some adjustments because the goal is to have this block right underneath your shoulder. So you can play around with that before you lift your toes. And when you feel stable, place the remaining weight into your left foot. Lift the right toes off of the mat and begin to flex through the foot, opening up through the hip. Maybe come to your fingertips. And if you would like to advance, you can extend your right fingertips up towards the ceiling. Whichever variation you take, make sure that you keep opening up this hip. And to release, gently drop the right toes, coming back towards the mat, and recentering your block. So move on to the other side here. Toes and heels come together. When you're ready, take one step with your right foot and place your weight into your right foot coming to the ball of your left foot. When you're ready, hinge at the waist. And when you get low enough, place your right fingertips on the block and maybe make an adjustment so that the block comes right underneath your shoulder. When you feel ready, lift the left toes off of the mat. Flex through the left foot. And begin opening up the hip. Maybe play around with lifting the fingertips off of the block. And if you would like to keep going on with this pose, you can extend the left fingertips up towards the ceiling. To release, gently drop the left toes towards the mat. And you can move your block to the side. Now moving on to a pigeon pose here. We're going to start in downward facing dog. So meet me on your mat and find your best downward facing dog. Just taking a moment to reset here. Maybe bend through the knees. And we'll be moving into pigeon pose, so you want to have your blocks handy here. When you're ready, inhale the right toes high, keeping the right foot flexed. And again, opening up that hip for three-legged dog in preparation for pigeon. When you're ready, exhale and lead with the knee. coming all the way down towards your shin. And take a peek back at your left leg here, making sure that your knee is in line with your hip and your leg is completely straight. So for this pose, you can bring your toes closer in towards your body, and if you do that, you make sure you point your toes. If it's in your practice to have the shin parallel with your mat, or as close as you can get it, make sure that your foot is flexed, and this is also to protect your knee. So whichever variation you take, find your pigeon. And if your hips don't quite come towards the mat, you can place a block on the lowest level. And you can place it right underneath that hip so that your hips stay even and square. That's also another variation. So settling into our pigeon pose, you can inhale, bring your fingertips towards the mat and slightly bend back. And as you exhale, melt towards your mat. Maybe just come to your forearms. Maybe if it's in your practice, melt all the way down. Allow your head to hang heavy and just rest here. Taking a moment to really feel that hip. Take one more deep inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. And to release, lift your gaze, bring your palms to the mat, curl the left toes under towards your mat and lift your hips up, sending the right foot back, moving into a three-legged dog. One more time just to release some of that pressure. Maybe do some circles with your knee in both directions. And set the right toes down. Moving right along to the other side. Inhale the left leg high, keeping the left foot flexed, and bend at the knee just to open up that hip. One more time in preparation for pigeon on this side. As you exhale, lead with the knee, and bring the shin all the way down towards the mat. Same thing on this side, take a peek back at your right leg to make sure that it is completely in line with your hip. And make any adjustments for your pigeon on this side. Again, maybe this hip is a little bit different and you need to use a block. You can place that right underneath your sit bone. Inhale through the nose and come to the fingertips, slightly bending back as you exhale. Melt towards your mat. And come to whatever variation of sleeping pigeon you have in your practice. Maybe you notice it feels a little bit different on this side, and that's okay. We'll use our breath to relax into this pose. So inhale through your nose and exhale out the mouth. If you're using a block like I did, you can place it to the side and lift your gaze towards your fingertips, rooting through your palms, tucking the right toes under, and lifting the hips, sending the left leg high towards the ceiling for one more three-legged dog. Same thing on this side, doing some circles with the knees here just to relieve some of that pressure. Meeting me back in downward facing dog in preparation for our last pose, which will be Supta Baddha Konasana. So we're just gonna shift our weight into our palms and come to a nice, easy seated pose here. So this is a very deep hip opener that we're gonna move into, and I like to use blocks. So if you would like to try them, you need two, and you can place them on whichever level works best for you. But the goal here is to put them underneath your knees to release some of the pressure. So we want to bring our soles together, the soles of our feet with the pinky edge down towards the mat. And you can adjust your blocks once you make it down. But just bring the soles of the feet together and then just gently come back on your back here, making any adjustments you may need. Maybe your blocks are in la la land like mine. And you can place the blocks like so underneath your knees. So the blocks here should help you relieve some of that pressure, but you should also get the benefit of this deep hip opener here. So once you find your variation of Supta Baddha Konasana, just begin to settle in here. You can place your hands on your thighs, or sometimes I like to place my right hand on my belly and my left hand on my heart. And we'll take one more cleansing breath here. So begin to inhale deeply through your nose and exhale out the mouth, allowing our breath to move us through this pose, settle into this pose. Let's do that one more time. Inhale through your nose and exhale out the mouth. So you can stay in this variation for as long as you like, and if you're not feeling quite a deep enough stretch as you would like to, you can always remove the blocks and adjust the feet here, allowing the knees to drop a little bit further and allowing the hips to open up more. And once you've taken a couple of breaths at your own pace, you can transition into the final resting pose of Shavasana by allowing the feet to splay wide, allowing the big toes to fall out, extending the arms alongside the body, palms facing up for receiving energy or facing down for grounding. Find your most comfortable Shavasana and take up as much space as you like. Maybe tucking the shoulder blades under and allowing the heart to be open. For one final breath, inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. Staying here for as long as you'd like, really enjoying your Shavasana, and hopefully you've released some stress and emotions from your hips today. Namaste.